do. Levi, Jerry Murphy, it's good to see you here. This is Stanley. Pleasure to see you. I am thoroughly listening to your role. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Yeah, I know. Oh, absolutely.
You don't even know that way back. I know.
Get out of here. Yeah.
Mic test. mic for our system. This is the mic for the live.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Come on in and take a seat. Let's see. He said it was left on, but let's check.
You said tap the mic.
Good? Okay. All right. Can everybody hear me? All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here today. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Shelby Scott. Stan Scott, or known to many as Poppy, was my dad. And so we just wanted to welcome you for being here today. And just invite all of you to kind of settle in as we get started with the service. So a little bit about my dad that I think all of you know is that my dad was a historian and a storyteller. And I cannot think of a better way to celebrate his life than for us to tell some stories about his life today through words, through pictures, through letters from family members and friends, and songs as well. I want to thank all of you who have been there for my family over the last several weeks. I cannot think of a greater gift than to bear witness to someone's grief and to be present for them. And it's such an incredible gift because you're sitting with someone who is in so much pain and who is dealing with one of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. And you can't fix it. All you can do is be there with them in those moments. And so I just want to, in particular, say thank you to a few people who have really shown up for our family over the past few weeks. One to my brother and his wife, who have been there for my mom over the last several weeks and have helped with putting together this service today. Also to my mother-in-law, Lori, who was there for my mom physically the night that my dad passed away when many of us were not in town, and was able to be there with my mom in one of the most vulnerable moments of her life. So thank you, Lori. And to my mother's friends and additional family members who have shown up, who have reached out, who have texted, called, and come and been with us during this time. And last, our family, unfortunately, is not new to grief. So I had to start this off with also taking a moment to think about my sisters, Casey and Kristen, who passed away as well before my dad. We all miss them very deeply, and I know that loss is therefore often kind of triggering and difficult for our family because we already have so many holes in our hearts from their departures as well. I'm not sure what happens to us when we die, whether there is heaven or an afterlife, or if we just become energy or light. I don't know what it is, but I do know whatever it is that Casey and Chrissy were there to welcome him, and that they are partying it up and having a great reunion. And so to start us off today, we're going to play 3 of my dad's favorite songs because my dad loved music. And we're going to play this along with this slideshow that my niece Quinn put together, and the music, was put together by my nephew Mason. So we're going to spend a few moments to kind of settle into that with the slideshow, and then we'll go from there. So thank you.
Hello, in case any of you don't know, I'm Eric. Stan was my dad. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming. And before I get started, my sister Shelby alluded a little bit into the special people that helped us with my dad when things got difficult. And there's someone in this room that I need to acknowledge. Her name is Eunice. She came to us through a company called Senior Helpers, but I want to be really clear about something. Senior Helpers sent us an employee. God sent us Eunice. There's a difference. Everybody who's spent 5 minutes with her knows exactly what I mean. Sorry, I'm going to read a bit. She was with my dad all week, right up until the end. She sat with him. She talked with him all day, every day. And if you knew my dad, that was pretty much a chore. That man could go and go. And that's no small commitment. She made him feel like he mattered, which is really the important part at that point in your life. Because of her, he really did. She is the kind of soul that doesn't do a job. You know, she brightens every room she walks into, every life that she touches. And on behalf of my mom, Sherry, and myself and our entire family, Eunice, we love you. What you gave to our family during the hardest weeks of our lives is something we can never forget and never repay. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And I know you're here somewhere, so thank you. So I want to start this off by saying something I think most of you already know about me. I'm not terribly great at sugarcoating things. Never have been, but my dad knew that better than anybody. So what you're about to hear is the truth. All of it, the good, the hard, the funny, because that's what I think he deserves. My dad had a doctorate, and boy, he was so proud of that, and you know what? Rightly so. Being the first person in his family to attend college, I think that he was very proud of doing that. His knowledge in political science and history was vast. He was one of the smartest men I've ever known. He could hold court almost any day on any subject and loved nothing more than a good argument, especially as I got older and started giving him one worth having. I think that I enjoyed these a little bit more than he did because he was taking them quite seriously, and I just like kind of watching him squirm a little bit. Here's the thing about fathers and sons that nobody warns you about when you're young. You're almost guaranteed not to get along entirely, not really, not for a while. You come from the same blood, but you arrive in the world very differently. You spend a good portion of your lives absolutely convinced that the other is wrong. And that happens. For much of my life, my dad and I disagreed on, you name it, politics, perspective on priorities, how to handle just about any situation would come up. We rarely were like, yep, that's a great plan. It was always, I think we should do this, and I think we should do that. But that's kind of how it goes. We saw the world differently, sometimes so differently that I wondered how we ended up in the same family, as I'm sure he had that same wonder at times. But I never once doubted, not even through the worst of it, that he believed completely in what he was doing. He thought he was right, and to him, he was doing what he knew was best for everyone. This is what fathers do. It's just what we do. And here's what I didn't understand until I had a daughter of my own. My girl Tucker is 11 years old. And at the moment she came into my life, something shifted. I started to understand slowly, imperfectly, how important things are understood, that my dad, he wasn't trying to win, right? This isn't a competition. He was trying to protect. He was trying to prepare. He was doing the best he could with what he had in the situation that he was put into. Same as I'm doing now. Same as every father is doing, whether it looks that way from the outside or not. When I became a father, I stopped being angry at my dad. I started being grateful. But I want to tell you, none of that, none of the disagreements, none of the stubbornness, none of the years that we kept our distance, none of that existed for us on the golf course. My dad put a golf club in my hand when I was 4 years old. He took an old set of clubs, had them cut down so a little kid could swing this. And remember, this is 1979, 1980. Golf clubs for kids didn't even exist. But he didn't care. He just made it happen. That's who he was. He didn't say, someday you can come with me to the course when you're older. He said, come on, let's go. We can't be late for our tea time. That was pretty special. One story I remember was the first golf shot I ever hit. Clean contact, good shot. The ball actually got off the ground. Like, first one, and for any golfers in the room, you know what I'm talking about. I was 7. I think I was 7, 6 or 7. We were at a driving range over Northwest Highway just across from what used to be Penny Whistle Park, if anyone remembers. I dated myself pretty heavily right there. It's not there anymore, but Sherry, his wife, or maybe just fiance at the time, I can't remember, but who I didn't realize was going to be my mother from that day till now, and hopefully for many, many years to come. I thank God for her every day. But she was there that day. She probably doesn't remember this at all, but I remember every second of it. I was trying to show off, obviously. I wanted to impress her because I could just see how happy my dad was when she was around. He was different. Anyway, I took my swing, and that ball actually flew. I mean, it flew. It was an 8-iron, and it was glorious. It was fantastic. I looked over at my dad because I was in shock, and he was grinning. That grin, I could feel the pride coming off of it. I can still see it right now as I stand here. On the golf course, we weren't complicated father and son. We were just golfers. He was my mentor, my coach, my playing partner, and most importantly, my friend. Every disagreement we ever had about politics, life, about the way something should be done, anything, it just evaporated the second we walked onto that first tee box. None of that mattered. What mattered was the lie of the ball, the wind, the next shot. He taught me how to read a green. He taught me the difference between hitting a hard 9 and a soft 8. I always pick the hard 9. But he also taught me patience. If you know anything about me, that tells you how great of a teacher my father was. Those days were the best days. And I wish more than I can say that I had known the last time we played, about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe 10, was going to be the last time that we played. I would have slowed down. I would have paid more attention. I would have not cared at all about my score or whether the weather or the slow players in front of us or what we were doing after the round. I would have just watched. I would have just watched him swing. I would have watched him be where he loved to be. Hearing Sunshine on My Shoulders by John Denver in my head. This was the song he used to keep his swing tempo. Damn, he was great on the golf course. He really was. He was pure, and I just wish I had known. In the last year, something changed between us. The hard edges softened. I'd grown up enough to stop needing him to be perfect, and he had grown up enough to understand that I just needed him to be present. We spent real time together, especially towards the end. Good time. Even through everything his body and mind were putting him through, he was still there. Hell, I had a long stand conversation just a couple of days before he passed. There was no struggle, there was no forgetfulness, it was just a good conversation about everything. He was my dad, and I loved him. I'm not going to pretend those times were always easy. Man, he could be an asshole. Like a world-class gold medal asshole. If he wanted to be. And pretty sure that's where I learned it. Because, and from what I understand, I carry that torch forward pretty successfully. So I'm proud of that. But I was there, and I was glad to be there every minute. Even the ones where I was yelling at him to set him straight for stupid things he would say or do to me or my mom there. But I wouldn't trade a single moment, not one. My dad loved history. Right? I think you all knew that about him. He loved politics. He loved a biting, perfectly worded quote that kind of cuts right to the truth without wasting a syllable. So it feels right to close with one that he was fond of. He often attributed it to LBJ, but I actually think it was FDR. Though knowing my dad, he'd probably have 2 or 3 corrections about that. The line goes, he may be a son of a bitch, but he's our son of a bitch. Dad, you were ours. Every complicated, brilliant, stubborn, frustrating, loving inch of you, you were ours, and we were lucky. I love you, Pop, and I'll catch up with you on the back nine. I just want to thank everybody for coming. On the table over here, you'll see a display of golf balls that were my dad's. These are from courses that he played with. You'll see they're still dirty. Didn't even bother to clean them. But I want to invite anybody who knew my dad that, knew him on the golf course or whatever to help yourself to one. Take one as a memento. I've already taken the ones that I want. So please help yourself for a little memento stand. I think that moving forward, we're going to open the mic to anybody who would like to speak, and I believe my eldest nephew, Emery, would like to go first. Again, thank you for coming. I really appreciate, as I look around this room, the love and the support.
And real quick, while Emery's coming up here, we're going to have about 10 minutes for open remarks. So I know Emery and Michaela would both like to say some words. I think another friend might want to come up. And so once we have Emery and Michaela go, then we can open it up to everybody else. All right.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Emery. I am the eldest grandson, and thank you for joining us in this celebration of life of a great life lost. Poppy, otherwise known as Stanley, was a great man and one of the last of his kind, a pure and traditional scholar. He would have hated ChatGPT, so I, of course, used ChatGPT to help write this. Thank you for laughing, just kidding. This is all from the heart. I remember Poppy as someone who taught me to never stop learning, to never stop being curious in life and in information. He was a PhD, so it was in his DNA to continue to learn, to continue to teach. And I will forever cherish that foundation he instilled in me. I'm grateful we were always able to talk sports. I was never an academic type, but we always had that shared passion when it came to sports. I remember he would call me every Sunday, or Saturday, should I say, when I was in high school, and ask how my high school did that weekend in football. Even though I never played varsity football, he always wanted to share that with me. Because he cared, he cared about what I was into. He cared about sports. I know as a Dallas-based sports fan, he got to see all of his teams win, especially towards the end. The Rangers finally got one. And I remember, him just sitting on his chair, just watching golf and talking about players that I never knew about because I just knew the major ones. I know he loved Jordan Spieth because he was a Dallas-born kid. And so we always had that bond, and I will forever cherish that. I'm thankful he got to live a full and exciting life. I mean, the man was 83 years old, but he lived a very exciting and just plentiful life. And he loved to talk about it, as Eric just said. He was a talker. He was selfish in his own ways with that, but it was amazing to hear, the things that he got to do, the people he got to meet, the lives he got to change in his teaching. And I will sincerely miss him, and I'm thankful I got to see him one last time before he passed away. I will cherish that moment, and but I know he's reunited with his two daughters, my mom and my aunt, and I know they're having a great time right now. I love you, Poppy. I really do, and I'm gonna miss you. Shay, I love you. I'm sorry this happened to you. Shelby, I'm sorry this happened to you. Keating, Scott, we're no strangers to this, but again, I'm sorry this happened to us. Hopefully we have a nice solid 10, 15 years now before anything else happens. But all jokes aside, thank you so much everyone for coming. It means the world to us, and I will open up to Michaela. Thank y'all.
I'll be reading from my phone instead of a piece of paper. So I was thinking as I wrote this about how strange it is that by the age of 30 I've already spoken at far too many of memorials. And yet every time I consider it to be an honor. Because to speak for someone who can no longer speak for themselves is a way of moving them forward a little bit longer. And I especially feel that honor today as Stanley's redheaded cowgirl, as I was always called, for as long as I can remember. Poppy was one of those rare people who could make you feel smarter, more interesting, and more curious just by sitting beside him. He could talk history, politics, poetry, all very, very deeply, and never stop being curious about the world. As a curious thinker myself, one thing that has comforted me deeply in these last few days was hearing about his final words. Talking about giving a kiss to my mom and aunt. Even at the very end, his thoughts were with his girls, and after losing my mom, there is something profoundly healing in hearing that, knowing that love was still the last thing on his mind. I can't think of anything that captures the heart of a father and grandfather more beautifully than that. At my mom's memorial, we played Just Breathe by Willie Nelson. And it feels fitting that we return to it today. Willie always had his way of capturing both grief and peace at the same time, and the ache of loving people deeply while still being grateful that you got to love them at all. There's a lyric from a song that keeps echoing in my heart today. Stay with me, let's just breathe. And I think that's what grief asks of us sometimes, to just breathe and stay together and to love each other through it. And honestly, as a devoted Willie Nelson fan, he connects to my Poppy in spirit too. Thoughtful, unapologetically Texan, a little rebellious, deeply human, and never afraid to stand up for what he believed in. And boy, did he do that. Which brings me to something that Poppy would absolutely haunt me if I'd missed the opportunity to remind people of the business we have to do here in politics, as he would say. He believed deeply in civil involvement and paying attention to history, in caring about people enough to participate. So somewhere out there, I know he'd want one more final reminder that democracy only works if you show up for it. I loved how at the end of the obituary, it ends with one of his own lines. A fine time was had by all. Because to be loved by Poppy or Stan truly was a fine time. The end.
Anyone else like to come up and say any words?
Hello, I am Mason. I am Stan and or Poppy and or Old Fart Philosopher's grandson. I didn't plan to say anything, but I just wanted to come up and say that it is because of Poppy that in the last, let's say, decade of my life, I've been able to take a much more philosophical approach to life, and it's something that I will forever be grateful for. As everyone said, he's a big history buff, and I would like to teach you all something that he taught me that is totally not useful but very Poppy. To refer to the cardinal directions as a cowboy would. North would be up yonder, south is down yonder, east is over yonder, and west is there yonder. And I don't know who said this, but I read somewhere that a student of philosophy knows about philosophy, but a philosopher lives that philosophy. And to the very end, Stanley Scott was a philosopher, and I hope that I can carry that on in being the old fart philosopher in training that I am. I'll say a quote that he always told me, and I think that he says it's Mark Twain, but it's questionably attributed, and he agrees. But it is that history does not always repeat itself, but it sure does rhyme. And so, go vote. He'd want you to. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
I also did not plan to speak today, but I feel like I have to at least introduce myself. I am the other redheaded cowgirl. I've been introducing myself as that today to some people who just recognize me. I love my grandpa, and I just don't always have a lot to say, but I do feel like, sorry, one second. I'm very grateful to pass on like another big part of him, which is education. Thank you. But yeah, I just feel grateful to be like the youngest right now, carrying on the legacy of teaching, and I hope it continues in our family. Thanks.
That is very tough to follow. My name is Gary Murphy. Stan and I were both teachers at Lakeview Centennial High School in Garland for years. Stan was the man who adored Sherry, often referring to her as his bride. Together they built a life of laughter, companionship, and adventure. Stan was the man. As a professor and historian, he taught not only facts and dates, but to think critically about the world around us. Stan was the man whose open-minded spirit welcomed every conversation, every debate, and every new perspective with curiosity instead of judgment. Stan was the man whose wit lit up a room and whose satirical humor left everyone laughing and thinking long after the conversation ended. Stan was the man, along with Sherry, dogs, and a bird. They hit the open road with their travel trailer, exploring the Pacific Northwest and Canada, collecting memories the way that most people collect souvenirs. Stan was the man who proudly loved his TCU Horned Frogs. Every Saturday afternoon in the fall, you could find Stan parked in his easy chair, completely absorbed in college football. Stan was the man who enjoyed life on his own terms, never pretending to be anyone other than exactly who he was, right down to the absurdities of life and occasional pot here and there. Stan was the man who carried the pride of South Oak Cliff High School, having played football and pitching a no-hitter. Stan was the man who maintained a 5 or better handicap in golf, a game that demands patience, discipline, humility, although Stan usually added humor to the experience as well. Stan was the man whose sharp intellect and biting satire exposed the hypocrisy of those elected officials more interested in serving themselves than the constituents who elected them. Stan was the man with a great laugh and a warm smile. And for all of us who are fortunate to have known him well, there will never be another Stan. I am honored to have had Stan Scott as a dear friend and colleague. Stan was the man.
Okay. Wow. So many beautiful words. And I think this is a great segue from Quinn bringing up education to now talking about his time teaching, to share a letter that comes from his graduate school days. So when my dad was in graduate school, earning his PhD in history, well, I'll just say this. All of us know he told lots of stories, but I think the majority of his stories come from when he was in graduate school. He was so proud of his time there and had such an impact on his life that we received a beautiful letter from his graduate school friend, Mari, and I'd like to read it to you all, read a portion of it to you all. Dear Stan, well, my friend, one adventure ends and another begins. You've often led the way on things in my life, and you've done it again. None of us know, of course, what's out there, but there is something. And knowing you, you are busy exploring, analyzing, and adjusting to new circumstances. You probably know this, and I want to confirm it, but you had a great impact on my life, a good influence, of course. Grad school, Canada, professional activities, you led the way on those and included me in your escapades. Thanks so much. For starters, there was TCU's grad school, both of us working on a history PhD. What a time we had. The many classes together, the ubiquitous parties, new colleagues, and the occasional faculty mentor. Do you remember the bloody project for Potter, that is Dr. Potter in Tudor history? She sent us off to see a damn movie, A Man for All Seasons, the one about Thomas More. We had to analyze the bloody thing for historical accuracy. I think you saw the movie at least 3 or was it 4 times? I only went once. The movie was accurate enough, but it was a tough assignment. Why was that? Remember, surely we thought Potter knew there was something dreadfully wrong with the movie, or was it just the little things she wanted us to note? Okay, collectively we got through it. There were sighs of relief when she returned our papers, but then we panicked with the start of the new course. This one was on the Stuarts. There was a new movie on Oliver Cromwell. Editor's note, he's the guy responsible for Charles I losing his head. Oh no, will Potter send us off to critique that one as well? After we endured a few weeks of suspenseful suffering, Potter must have seen the iffy reviews. I had a reprieve. She recognized this movie for what it was, another Hollywood extravaganza. Classes were good, but I think it was the parties at your place and the arguments we had about all sorts of things that got us through. We both earned our degrees. And then you were off to Montana to teach, close to the mountains you loved. But the real transformation for you, the thing that changed my life, was your ensuing job at Notre Dame University of Nelson in British Columbia. After a year, you became a part-time administrator and started a new academic program in a nearby community. And what was in it for me? You needed someone to teach PDQ. It was already August and the program started in September. Your old grad school buddy who was looking for a job was only too happy to join you in Canada. Not only was it a reunion for several years, but you introduced Linda and me to Canada, and here we have stayed. Thanks to you hiring me, I pursued a rewarding career here, began a wonderful family, and moved across the province of British Columbia, eventually retiring from one of Canada's leading university. Thanks, Stan, for that introduction, and thanks for your friendship, and thanks for the ongoing support. All right. And building off of these comments, we're now going to introduce you all to a project that my dad had been working on with his dear friend, Jeremy Kincaid. Come on up, Jeremy. Who's going to introduce this project and play a short clip from it.
Thank you. So I do have a few words, and then I'll kind of dive into the project, give a little bit of personal comments first. So I wrote a few things down. I'm only allowed to call him Dr. Scott. I've never not been allowed to do so, so it remains Dr. Scott. We met about 23 years ago, so it's been a good while, and I may date myself a little bit. If anyone remembers the 1990 show Boy Meets World, Dr. Scott is kind of like my Mr. Feeney. He was there in middle school, he was there in high school, he was there in college. So I've been with him as long as he's been with me. He was one of those legendary professors that you hear about from everyone else before you get into the class. And you hear the rumors of this is going to be the hardest class you've ever had. This is going to be so tough. This is going to challenge you in brand new ways. And it was such a challenging class that I often told him, I was like, by the time I finished the first class with you, I said everything else was a breeze. College was a breeze compared to your class. So it just prepared you for everything ahead. And one of the first things I know Mr. Murphy remembers as well, when you walked into Dr. Scott's room, he had a sign that was his story of the United States by Dr. Scott. And that's exactly what we learned. We learned a little bit of his experiences, of history, and also his story, which included how incredibly proud he was of his kids. So I don't think Shelby and Eric have any idea just how many hundreds of people have either random Shelby statistics still in their head from soccer, or random facts about Eric. So before we learned about U.S. history, we learned of Eric's culinary achievements, whether it was designing food for thousands of Walmart locations into IHOP, and then we learned of every match that Shelby had, if there were any shutouts, and we learned that she was also going to be a doctor. So she was going to be Dr. Scott as well, and of course she did. There was never a doubt, and Dr. Scott never had. It's just what he knew you were capable of, you would accomplish. Because that's what he saw in people. He saw the absolute best and just everything that you were capable of. So he also, kind of alluding to what Eric mentioned, he didn't accept excuses. He didn't accept certain things. If you brought them, you were in for a treat. You don't bring excuses to Dr. Scott. You don't bring anything less than your best, because that's what he wanted to see. He wanted to see your best. It's funny, leading into this, you're going to hear a few snippets of things and ways that he is still here in DFW, projects that he had significant impact on, and just, it's awesome to watch this in its entirety and see, when you cross the Forest Dart Station, you'll say, that's Dr. Scott. Like, there's a reason that exists there and why that's there. And it's funny because Dr. Scott would definitely not say he was the most deeply religious man, but I'd say he practiced some amazing elements of faith that I want to acknowledge. There's a passage I love in Isaiah 58 when there's a religious ritual called fasting that people are participating, and they say, we do it on this day, and then God says, well, like you do it on that day. He said, but isn't this what I want from all people, to free the oppressed, share your food with the hungry, provide shelter for the homeless and the oppressed, clothe those in need, and then your light shines like the sunrise. And Dr. Scott didn't have to boast of beliefs or make grand claims of faith. He took action. He didn't need to be asked. He did those things. He sought justice. He loved his fellow man. He loved the oppressed. And his light shined to every one of us. No matter our faith, no matter our background, didn't matter. It's why every one of us considers it an honor to have known him. And so introducing this project, Levi, Dr. Scott, and myself have worked on this for over a decade. It was a project recording significant historical figures who have impacted Dallas from the 60s forward and who helped shape this. This was a passion project of Dr. Scott's, and I'd love to introduce it to all of you. And for now, we're going to focus on one of the most important interviews we conducted. So this is a short preview of an interview that Levi and I conducted with Dr. Scott about his life, because as we all know, his story is best told by Dr. Scott.
Share with you a little bit about his family, his background, where did he grow up, and what was it like, and let him give a little background for some of the other things that we're going to talk about. Dr. Scott, where was your home and your family?
I grew up in Oak Cliff. Was born at Florence Nightingale at Baylor in 1943. Came on to Grant Avenue, which was a dirt road just south of Clarendon Boulevard. Later, my parents moved to West Oak Cliff near Tyler Street. Later, we had a farm in Riley. I've joked throughout my career that I was Einstein as an undergraduate. And I was lucky to get out of there with a GPA to get me to graduate school.
I think one of the things that was most beneficial was our working together. That's where he met his wife.
I'm better 7/8.
Even after you did your private executive consultant, is being a college professor and teacher. So many schools and universities and so many students that you've touched that have made an impact and are involved today. And it's just, I think that's been a tremendous contribution.
Folks on the back row who sleep through your class and suddenly their eyes go off because they've begun to understand. Oh, that was a delight. Let me one paragraph tell you that my mind is driven by curiosity. had the most diverse workplace. We had more women, we had more minorities, we had more disabled. We had a wonderful workplace.
Is there anything you would have changed you went back nowadays?
I would have looked more intently on how to serve that leads to secondary service. You set up a child care center so people can immediately go to work. We identified people who wanted jobs around the Martin Luther King Center who were offered jobs at the LBJ North Dallas area and had to ride 3 buses over an hour and a half to get to work. So we worked within the Dallas transit system. Finally, talking, it was setting up a flyer from OK to North Dallas. And it still exists. It's still the dark station now at Forest Avenue where the buses take people. And it seems so simple. It seems so obvious. And we, in that room, we brought together teenage parents so they could finish their education and provided child care services for the kids. It has become what DISD does. It's part of their mandate these days. It's one of the programs. You got a problem. Here's a methodology to solve the problem. And we'll come back and check and see if the problem has been solved or impacted. And I'm glad when you're having fun. I thought we were just starting.
Ready, Cece? All right. Wow, that's amazing. I haven't seen all those clips, so thank you, Jeremy, for sharing those. So now we're going to have a few songs sung by my niece, Cece, that were some of my dad's favorite songs that he would have loved to have heard here today. Go, Cece!
Hi everyone, I'm Cece, if that wasn't clear. I'm not a redhead cowgirl, but I'm the other one's daughter, Casey.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Okay, now that I got the tears out a little bit, I'm gonna be singing a second song. This was, Eric, you brought this song up, Sunshine on My Shoulders, John Denver. Give me just a second though. Yeah, I'm like the self and family proclaimed songbird, so I sing at these things, and it never really gets easier. Thank you. Anyone have water? What? Okay. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Sunshine in my eyes can make me cry. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost always makes me high. If I had a day that I could give you, I'd give to you a day just like today. If I had a song that I could sing for you, I'd sing a song to make you feel this way. Sunshine on my shoulders makes me happy. Sunshine in my eyes can make me cry. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost always makes me high. If I had a tale, and he did, that I could tell you, I'd tell a tale sure to make you smile. If I had a wish that I could wish for you, I'd make a wish for sunshine all the while. Sunshine on the shoulders makes me
happy. Sunshine in my eyes can make me cry. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost always makes me high. Sunshine on the water looks so lovely. Sunshine almost always makes me high. Sunshine.
Wow. Okay. Wow, Cece, amazing. Oh, my dad would have loved that. I hope you know that. And he was. So last for our program tonight, we have my dad's absolute dearest friend, Levi Davis, to give the eulogy. Come on up. And Levi has known my dad longer than I think just about anyone. Let me know if we got it wrong, if there's anyone else in the room. But yeah. His sister. There we go. Sue. Oldest. I was like, longer than his wife, longer than any of the kids have been around, the grandkids. So thank you, Levi, for being here. Yeah.
Thank you, Shelley. You know, this is really, Stan lived a great life. I'm going to talk about some of the contributions and some of the things that he did and some of the things that we did together. But all of us ought to be pretty, let me tell you some of those things. I'd be pretty proud of what our friend and our colleague Stan Scott participated in over the years. Now, she said, I'm Levi, and I know Stan, and some of you remember Dr. Scott, but he was a very creative, innovative, imaginative, and he was a wonderful person that I got the pleasure of working with as a friend, a student, a partner, and a colleague on so many things. Someone who was always there for me. When I first arrived in Texas, he became my friend. He was my professor at TCU in 1969, while I was still in the Air Force. He later became a friend so close, he was in my wedding party in 1970. He was in my second wedding party in 1993. He also recruited me to go to Canada to co-teach with him the classes there at Notre Dame University. He was such a caring individual. Now, once upon a time, I was working at the city of Dallas, and I got the appointment to a very controversial department. They had fired 85 people one day. They had terminated about 15 contracts. It was a mess. They said, Levi, we want you to go fix it. And I said to myself, what the hell? Excuse me. I didn't know what to do. I wasn't sure what to do. My first thought, I better call Stan. Stan was teaching, I don't know, Notre Dame. He wasn't in Notre Dame yet. He was in Oregon or somewhere out in the Midwest. I said, I need you to come down and work with me in this department and point it in a new direction. He came down and tell you what he did. We changed things around a lot. He did. He took the leadership. He was assistant director. I went away on vacation after he had already been there a year. I came back and I saw what he had done in the department. I kept a daily log. And I wrote in a daily log Without a doubt, Stan's strongest quality is his ability to assess problems and move expeditiously towards the elimination of problems. That was Stan Scott. That was later on. I was at the city of Dallas, but even while I was there, he comes with me ideas and creativity, and we get in together and we become a team. His creativity, we co-authored a book on DFW Airport. Oh, there it is over there. It's a giant in Texas in the history of the Dallas-Fort Worth Regional Airport controversy from 1911 to 1974. Not only that, he had me go out to the airport on the day it opened at 6:30 in the morning. I was there all day representing us. He didn't come, but he had me there. He takes that leadership. But when we were even at the city of Dallas, when we addressed those programs, the city wasn't doing social service programs at the time. The city wouldn't get involved in doing anything that had to do with social services. That was a responsibility of the county or something. We didn't do that. But Stan put together programs. He helped design, fund, talk entities to get involved. And he mentioned a few seconds ago, he did the Dallas Association of Retired Citizens, the Deaf Action Center, Family Guidance Center, the Women's Center, VNA, the Seniors Program. These are programs he put together. And he also developed programs, he looked at the programs, but we had to carry these programs that have never been done or approved before to the city council who never did it before. We had to convince the city council that these things were something that Dallas ought to get involved in. Stan put that together. Matter of fact, I'll tell you a story. We had worked on those programs a little while, and our budget was like $3 million. Federal government wanted to meet with us. So Stan and I met with the federal government. We sat there in a conference room. He said, well, Dr. Scott, your programs, you did a good job. We want to change the allocation of dollars. We said, oh, geez. He said, he took out a yellow tablet, and wrote on the yellow tablet, which I still have. He wrote on it and gave it to Stan. And he gave it to me. He changed our allocation from $3.5 million to $18 million. The key, he said to Dr. Scott, however, you have to obligate those funds and contract with contractors and programs that will be evaluated within 6 months. That was unheard of for the city of Dallas to do. But that was a challenge for Stan. He loved the idea. He put together the programs. He put together what he called a monitoring and evaluation manual. So he set goals with the program directors and everything else and said, this is what you're going to do over this next year. He put together that manual. The President of the United States heard about the manual. George Bush called. He had his people come down and talk to us. Stan's book became a manual for program evaluations across the country because he put that together for all federally funded programs. One time, we criticized the program quietly, but we went out there and canceled their contract, went before the board of directors, took away their money. The next day, Stan and I, and you can find it, I think it was the Morning News, or it may have been Times Herald then, we were hung on the front page of the Dallas newspaper in effigy. He and I, our body replicas hung because we took the money from the agency. Whew. But amazingly, with God's help, that agency at the board of directors, the city and the community embraced us because we corrected problems, we turned things around, we gave the money back, went in the right direction. That happened to be a Hispanic program in a Hispanic community. We became a very strongly supported by the Hispanic community as that. That's again, Stan Scott being bold, different, creative, stepping out, but still working with people, not just stepping on them, talking about them, whatever, working with the people to let them know what he was doing and how he would go about doing that. And that was amazing. But the programs became one of the best programs. It was the CEDAR programs back then, funded across the country. It was in that program, as someone pointed out earlier, That's where he met his lovely wife. She was working in the program also. But it was a great experience. Now, it was touched on later in 2014. He came up with another creative idea. Boy, he had a lot of them, but we don't have time today, but he had a lot of them. He had this idea that we ought to create a course and call this course The Diverse History of Dallas Leadership. And let's take it to the University of Texas A&M in Commerce and convince the president to make this a course. We put it all together with courses and projected speakers and time schedule. We identified all the books and put it all together in a great program, carried it to the president. He liked it. He said, okay. And we were ready to implement that program. But the president got transferred 2 weeks later. The program was gone. However, the idea, the dream of doing that became our interview program. So we took those ideas, those concepts. We got Jeremy on board, he's great. And we started to interview key history makers in Dallas. I mean, we interviewed the guy who created Southwest Airlines, Harold Keller, or Mort Meyerson, some of the biggest people in Dallas. We interviewed them, over 100 of them. We interviewed all these interviews, and we got them and we did the interviews. Stan would do the research on everybody we interviewed. He would put together, these are the key questions. This is what this person did this. This is what you do this. He put all of those together before I sat down and began that particular interview. And he would be there. Besides doing the research, he would be there as we conducted the interview. That was his historical bent, his interest. It was a project, but not to him. It was fun. It was something that he really wanted to do. And we put that together. Now, anyone across the country, across the world, matter of fact, can go on the internet, in the cloud, in North Texas University, and see any of the interviews. And if you see any of the interviews, you hear from these people that are talking, from Eddie Bernice Johnson to Kay Bailey Hutchinson, talking about Dallas back in the days. You can look at those interviews and you can say, those are good questions. I guarantee the questions and the thought and the texture and the direction of those conversations, Dr. Stan Scott was behind them. So that's something for you to remember. Now, I think myself, I believe, you all have to believe also, and you have to know, I'm very proud of the fact that I had the opportunity to get to know him, work with him, develop things with him, share ideas. And I think the Dallas community should be also, the things he did that no one knows about, but he kept them to himself, that he participated to really make a difference in Dallas. And matter of fact, believe it or not, a lot of things we do in Dallas today, 50 years ago, before we did those programs, wouldn't be done in Dallas today. The new ideas and concepts that he helped to introduce in Dallas. So he made a real difference in Dallas. And I have to say in closing out, even with the family members, the people that are here, Stan lived a good life. A good life with family, giving back to the community, all the students in the classes. I would feel bad if we didn't just take a second and give Stan Scott a standing ovation.
I don't think you can end it any better than that, than Dad getting a standing ovation for his life. So let me just again thank you all for being here today. I know that this would have been exactly what my dad would have wanted, and just can't thank you enough for being a part of his life, for being here. And before you leave, just want to invite everyone to make sure that you take a few minutes, if you'd like, to look at the setup that we have up here that was organized by Eric and Amy. And really depicts a lot of beautiful pictures and mementos from his life. please feel free to take one of the golf balls as well. And then in terms of a reception, if you would like to continue the party with us into the afternoon, we will be heading over about a 10-minute drive to the Londoner pub in Addison. So it is about 10 minutes away. There's a few different locations, but it's the one in Addison. Remember the name of the street, Eric? Actually, I put that up. Let me look it up. But this is a place where my dad used to, on Midway Road. This is a place where my dad used to go get drinks and converse and have all those conversations that he loved with his fellow colleagues and some of his graduate students and things like that. So thank you again for being here, and hopefully we continue the conversation this afternoon. Thank you all.
I think it's like, you know, like the bear painting we have, where they take a photo and make it a print. Because they have, I've seen this, maybe it's that.